Hi, I'm Diane Barnes. I learned of my diagnosis of breast cancer when I was 51 years old. That was about 5 years ago. And at the time that I was diagnosed, I knew I had cancer. I was a former oncology nurse. I found out that I had cancer when I was unemployed because I was in between jobs. When I had to get a diagnosis, I had to go to a clinic. It was amazing. I went to this clinic and this physician, God bless her, she told me I didn't have cancer. And I knew that the only definitive way to say to somebody you do or do not have cancer is if you have a biopsy. Had I not been a nurse, I wouldn't have known that. I went to Orlando Regional and I was able to, get a doctor that was able to work with me because they had to, I'm ready to cry. They had to get me emergency Medicaid and I had surgery. I opted to have a bilateral mastectomy because 3 months prior to my getting a cancer diagnosis, the father of my child passed away. And my daughter is an only child, so I was like, no, I cannot go anywhere anytime soon. So I had a bilateral mastectomy. I had a ton of complications, but I'm very fortunate that I didn't have to do chemotherapy. I guess I'm a lone ranger when it comes to being a breast cancer survivor because I don't do the normal things and get involved with the activities of, breast cancer awareness and this. I tend to be more alone in my backyard, and I garden. I talk to the squirrels. I mean, it sounds weird, but I feel like God was talking to me, especially when it was January 1st, 2011, a month before I knew I had the definitive diagnosis. When I was on my knees and I prayed the entire day, not knowing what was to come. And I remember driving up to Shands with my sister one day, looking out the window, and I said to my sister, you know what, Denise? I truly believe in my heart that God wanted me to have cancer. My sister got mad at me and she says, what are you talking about? That's not right. I said, no, seriously. God slowed me down to show me what's truly important because I was probably the biggest worrywart in the world. I was always like on rocket fuel and I didn't take time to realize that everything that I need is in front of me. That's why my favorite saying is Philippians 4:11. Philippians 4:11, I am content in whatever it is that I have. I was never content because I didn't truly know what it was to be content until I realized what was important. And when my daughter lost her dad and then, could have very well lost me, nothing else mattered. And I sit down every day and I read scripture. I go outside and I say, good morning, God, good morning, Jesus. And I talk to the birds and it's so funny, but it is the best feeling in the world to know that I was loved and I still am loved. And I actually wrote a little letter, and it's not a big bunch of words, but it's just a little bit of who I am. And I'm going to read it now. Essentially, this letter is to me. If I knew 30 years ago, I would say, Diane, my letter to you is simply to worry less about everything. Worry and being angry is the seed of cancer. And the more you worry, the more power you give this seed to grow. And I want myself to know in the past, if it was there and I could have done it, to allow myself to forgive and pray, religiously forgive and pray. And above all, thank God abundantly.